HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Everyday.
A day filled with meetings and intense negotiations in London for the Bahamian delegation led by the Prime Minister. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisma Robinson.
I'm Kishla Adderley. Thanks so much for joining us. The delegation is seeking to solidify new investment opportunities, which will help to jumpstart the economy of Grand Bahama.
Clint Watson tonight is in London.
The high-level government delegation meeting for most of the day with crucial investors to the Grand Bahamian economy. Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, has committed to doing whatever it takes to resuscitate that island's economy. And while they have seen some movement, the island still needs a major injection of jobs to jumpstart the economy. The first meeting was with the major player of the island, the Hutchinson Whampoa Group, out of Hong Kong. The issue at hand is with the Hawkesville Creek Agreement on tax concessions expired, government must decide whether to extend the agreement or begin collecting much-needed revenue in taxes. But it is not an easy sell, as Hutchinson Whampoa has expressed a desire to expand its operations and investments while hiring scores of Bahamians. It would be just what government would need, but the question is, at what price? The government also meeting with principals of the Mediterranean Shipping Company. They're hoping to expand operations by purchasing an island and developing a cruise port to entertain thousands of visitors. MSC also pledges to build an academy to train students in a career on the seas. Both projects are very close to receiving the necessary approval. Prime Minister Christie, ahead of the talks, says he was optimistic.
Firstly, Prime Ministers ought to be optimistic. When you are in the position that I'm in, you are optimistic in a real sense. Because yes, the idea is that Mediterranean, MSC Shipping, Hutchinson Whampoa are both committed to Grand Bahama. They're both committed to expansion in Grand Bahama. And there's no question about it. And I anticipate that if not in the month of December, very early in the new year, we will have all of this behind us.
Now, for most of the day and into the night, talks continued. We expect to hear the outcome real soon. In London, Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
It's day 4 of high-level meetings of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency taking place at the Melia Resort here in the capital. Today's session was focused on investing in disaster risk management, lessons in understanding risk, a topic most timely to keynote speaker, Dominican Minister of Justice, Immigration and National Security, the Honorable Rayborn Blackmore. His country remains in recovery months after being severely hit from Hurricane Erica. Minister Blackmore used the occasion to underscore the importance of governments, primarily those in the hurricane belt like the Bahamas, to implement measures necessary to mitigate against disasters. Hurricane Erica he regards as the worst storm in living memory in Dominica.
Tropical Storm Erica impacted Dominica, producing very high rainfall, measuring above 12 inches over a 6-hour period of time. And of course, given the topography of our country, and already saturated from the previous tropical weather system a week before, the heavy, intense rainfall resulted in flash flooding throughout the island. As a result, quite sadly, my dear friends, we suffered severe infrastructural damage, particularly related to transportation, housing, agriculture, the environment. Approximately 98% of the country's gross domestic product was totally washed away in a matter of hours.
Now today, Minister Blackmore says people are living in shelters and the cost of rebuilding has been pegged by the World Bank as in excess of $1.5 billion. The Bahamas is sharing a similar experience. Here at home, the recovery effort continues in the aftermath of Hurricane Joaquin, which has left a multi-million-dollar rebuilding price tag. Nevertheless, moving forward, Minister Blackmore says Hurricane Erica has been a lesson which his government will demonstrate with the proposed measures it intends to implement.
Going forward, therefore, emphasis has to be placed on building back better in all areas of development. There's a need to continue to strengthen the capacity of local disaster and also the Met services with a view to improving our early warning and forecasting systems. The relocation of persons most affected to areas that are less vulnerable. Recently, Cabinet approved the finalization of the Comprehensive Disaster Management Bill. Pretty stubborn. Persons had to be evacuated, everybody. And it was a very, very challenging situation for us. But a number of things we ask people to do is more or less voluntary. So you have no legal facility to compel people to comply.
The Bahamas Gaming Board late this afternoon issued a statement on the legal status of web gaming operator Bet Vegas. The Gaming Board has advised the principals of that establishment to cease operations following a court ruling handed down today. On October 26, Justice Roger Gomez handed down an ex parte order giving Bet Vegas Casino liberty to operate until the hearing of an appeal application, which suspended the Gaming Board's closure notice dated October 19th. However, on December 1st, it was ordered that the ex parte order be set aside with immediate effect. The principal of Bet Vegas, who was present when the ruling was handed down, has since been advised by the Gaming Board to cease operations by December 7th. Further, the public is advised that as Bet Vegas is not licensed to conduct gaming transactions, they should not engage in any gaming activities at any of its locations and should seek to retrieve any and all funds held on accounts with the company. Jurors in the Kurt McCartney murder trial heard from a number of witnesses during the proceedings today before Senior Justice Stephen Isaacs. Among them, a police corporal who testified that back in November of 2013, he saw accused Terry Delancey hand over a black pistol to a police inspector at a crime symposium at St. Bede's Church. The officer testified that the symposium was hosted by Kemp Road Urban Renewal and attended by members of Operation Ceasefire, Carlos Reed and Eric Fox. He said he took a photo of Delancey as he handed over the firearm because he wanted to include it in his report, which was forwarded to the police commissioner. Under cross-examination from Delancey's attorney Ian Cargill, the officer testified that Delancey did a lot of contract work for Urban Renewal and had turned in some 35 guns to police after that incident. Family, friends, and students turned out in droves to say their final goodbyes to former Queens College primary school teacher Joelle McIntosh during her funeral service at Bahamas Harvest Church this morning.
Now, 40-year-old McIntosh was gunned down while she sat in her parked car at the intersection of Parkade and Village Roads nearly 2 weeks ago. A 17-year-old male and two of his accomplices were charged with the murder. McIntosh's body was interred at Lakeview Memorial Gardens.